All right, it's August 29th. Invest Formosa here, Greg and Simon, and we're here to talk about all the crazy things that are going on in the world. We're on the eve of potential World War III in Syria.
Absolutely.
Gosh, I've just been going through the papers and looking at all the global research and all those sites.
Not CNN, not BBC.
Of course they're on my list, but I'll do those later.
Well, half of the problem is like half the world, like people in America and people in Europe and even in other countries, they get this mainstream media, which is basically regulated and for the most part by the wealthy 1%, and people they can't get over that concept. So, a lot of the news that they're spreading to the Sheeple, they're just eating this up, and they really don't spend the time to look at alternatives.
Packaged so nicely. I put something on my profile the other day on Facebook, and it was a great example, and it was a Daily Mail article from March this year, saying how U.S. plans to frame Syria with chemical weapons as precursor to regime change, and that was a Daily Mail article. Daily Mail is a rag of a newspaper, but it's what the Sheeple read. And then just this week, or I think it's this week, or maybe last week, Daily Mail put out another article saying, dictator Assad uses chemical weapons against his people, and then someone posted both articles next to each other, and you can see it clearly there. But the thing is, people don't look back 6 months. They don't look back a month. They don't look back a week to see what the agenda is and to see how these stories are placed and how they're worded. It's like America confirms Assad was guilty of using chemical weapons because they got one of his phone calls, and people just take that as read, thinking, well, they wouldn't just make that up entirely, would they? But, well, yes, of course they would. And they have been for the past 50 years.
That's it. You can look at the track record. You can talk about like Osama bin Laden, and it's shocking that I talk to people, and these people are pretty well educated people. Not, you would think, like they got a brain in their head and they're able to function and make common sense choices, but there's people out there that still believe that, 9/11 was done by Osama bin Laden, and you're thinking, well, you got to be kidding me.
If anyone knows the true official story of 9/11, you see the timeline of what the government actually says is true. It's like fantasy land. It's like a Disney movie.
Well, but here's the thing is, you can just use your own eyes, and you can watch these two buildings that fall at free fall speed. I learned this in grade 8 physics about free fall speed, and this is impossible.
Yeah. People,
how can a building get hit from the top and fall free fall speed without the whole building having some
structural resistance?
Yeah. What's that all about?
The paper says, but CNN says.
Well, that's
it. And you're given a label like a truther.
Well, and then you just go on. So you've got like 9/11. I would say maybe 50% at least of America and maybe other people in the world. They believe in that. They don't even care about building number 7. That's another story.
They don't even know about those.
Exactly. They don't even know about it. And then all of a sudden you've got, the Afghanistan war. They tell us about that. And then they're into Iraq to get the oil. And then all of a sudden now Libya. If anybody knows that true story about Muammar Gaddafi, if they actually even looked at that real story.
That will change their whole thing.
Well, Jesus. And now we're sitting here in Syria, and now we've got this, like Assad is, chemical weapons. If anybody would have a brain in their head, all they have to do is pull their head out of their ass and think about this and just ask a couple why questions. Why would he do that? This thing's been going on for over a year and a half. And if this is the case, do you think that people would stay? They would be running out of that place and trying to overthrow him.
Joining the so-called rebels, and swelling their ranks, and there'd be a people's army against Assad. But there ain't.
Exactly, they're not. So, I just had a conversation, because I do a lot of blogging like you, and I was just shocked to hear the CNN, BBC version that this Assad guy is dropping these chemical, no chemical weapons, these are where we got to get them out of there, we got to get America in there.
For the people.
Yeah, exactly. And America's been in what, they've been in over 70, 80 wars.
Pretty much all of them.
All of them, exactly, all of them. And they're going into here to do this one. And people are not even waking up to the big picture of what is really going on. Now, are they scared? Are they being irresponsible and they don't want to know, or they don't care? I mean, what is it?
Well, I've given up trying to fathom out what... The thing is, there's such a divide of people that take in the daily rubbish from the TV and the so-called journalism in the papers, and they that's their reality. Their reality is formed every day. No one does any research. No one reads books anymore.
Yeah. I mean, they have the CNN on 24/7.
Yeah. No one is able to kind of critically think or compare two stories. And of course, I can't blame people too much because the education system is like that for a reason.
Like in the U.S.
Yeah. Like in the U.S. and more all over the world, you don't think, you repeat, you tick a box, so we don't want any thinkers. God, they're troublemakers, They'll catch us out on our game.
Well, I mean, if somebody reads a little bit of George Carlin, I think a lot of our, people that are listening know who George Carlin is.
Pretty much, yeah.
Is one person that you should actually sit and listen to, because this guy is like balls on acid.
Should be required viewing.
Exactly. From grade what? Grade 3, minus the swear words.
Registration, maths, English, George Carlin.
Exactly. Well, let's get talking about the Syria thing, because I mean, this is a serious thing here. I mean, it's not like America gets to walk into Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya. I mean, this is a completely different monster.
We've said it before in different discussions. This isn't like a walkover. They've got the proper, just on their own, they've got proper technology. They've got a proper army. They're prepared. They're trained. They're equipped.
Backed by some of the best countries in the world.
Yeah, backed by the technology of the Russians, the S-300s, 400s, the long-range.
China hidden in the background for years.
China watching behind the curtain. So yeah, this is very different, and the US. I mean, surely they know this. I don't know what they're playing at, but they know they can sit their aircraft carriers off the coast, but Russia's given them the capacity to hit them.
Exactly. Well, I mean, here's the thing is, I mean, you and I, we've been, hanging out for quite a while, and I mean, even before that, I mean, most people that do not read the wealthy 1% media up the ass stuff is most people know that it's always been Syria, then Iran, then Russia, China, and then the world. Like, I mean, this is like out of a bad movie. And if people do not start to wake up and start knocking these dots together and seeing this is what is happening. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's going to happen, and you're going to see it. And you know what? The buck will stop in Syria, it will start in Syria, and this is where it's going to stop in Syria. This is where it's going to be no more. I mean, I was pretty upset that, Russia and China didn't back Libya.
Yeah.
I mean, they should have stopped this shit, because they know what a no-fly zone is. And now, I mean, this is it. This is where the line's drawn. America crosses over that line with NATO and Israel and, France and the UK and some of these other 20% of the lackeys and clueless, countries. Not the people, but the governments. Don't blame the people.
Nothing to do with the people. I mean, since when have governments been representative of people?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, we're on the eve now, basically. It's Thursday today, here, 29th. All sort of Cameron, Obama have all been talking about a Friday launch.
Yeah, I've heard that. No, yeah, that's whether that happens. It's going to happen. There's like to me, from what I've read, and I read a lot of things. I mean, you can go on our website, www.investtaiwan-formosa.com, and we have like ecology, economy, geopolitical, and they link into so many different websites that give so many different, so much different.
Of what's going on rather than just an economy.
Well, that's it. And the thing is like, I mean, the U.S., this is their problem. I mean, they're broke. They have no money. They are not $16 trillion. They're well over $70 trillion, and that doesn't even include the derivative shadow banking, which makes that over $700 trillion, the U.S. alone. We haven't even talked about London there, the Bank of London and all of these, clueless things. But they are absolutely broke. In October, they're going to have to, borrow more money so that they can keep the game going. I mean, there is an economic collapse. And if anybody reads history, economy and war sort of like are, go hand in hand here. And this is what we're seeing. They have no choice. There's either stop, tell the world the lie, tell them that they broke, they have no money, they can't pay it back. Here, give all the toys up, and we're going to be a banana state, or they're going to have to fight it out and let the chips fall where they may. That's where it is. And if people think different, well then, they got their head up their ass. I mean, just think of human nature here. So this is where we are. They're in Syria. Maybe they go this week, but they are definitely going to go because they have no choice. If they stop and don't do anything, they collapse. They give the toys up.
It's over. They go to jail.
Yeah, and maybe some heads chopped off, which probably wouldn't be a bad thing. So let's get back to this thing. So Syria is, I mean, we can talk for hours of the reason why. I mean, part of it is it's the end game. Western, American, along with some countries in the regions, maybe a little bit of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, I mean, of course, Israel, Turkey. I mean, this is about energy. A lot of it has to do with like pipelines, oil, natural gas, and it's got a lot to do with Syria. Syria's in a very sweet spot if you're looking at this. And I mean, we're not going to get into this, but I mean, if anybody thinks that NATO is in there to liberate the people, I mean, Jesus, you got to wake up.
Yeah, I mean, NATO has pretty much always been a force for empire expansion. And,
there's no religion here. People say, oh, it's religion. I mean, Jesus, money and power.
Despite what it was supposed to have been set up for, or what they said it was set up for, it's always been empire building. The UN,
it's all or nothing.
Yeah, it's the expansion, and they wrote about this stuff. Again, we're not going to go to the wires because you can read about this stuff.
Yeah, people that want to know.
It's out there. You can read it. This stuff. I mean, they're so arrogant. They print this stuff out and publish it every year, and they have done for the past 50, 60 years. What their plan is and what they do every year, and they follow it. And you can read it. It's there. It's the instruction manual. They've said what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and the Sheeple still believe what CNN says. It's crazy. So bottom line is getting to the point now. We're on the eve of where this is going to get very real for a lot.
Everyone.
Of people.
I mean, let's talk about a little bit of geopolitical.
Let's hold that point. Let's take that into section 2.
Yeah, good idea.
You split this up. If you haven't got time to listen to all of what we're saying, we're going to end this one here, and we're going to start a new one for you.
All right.
Okay.